Hi everybody, my name's Amelia and welcome to the channel. Okay, so I thought it would be kind of fun to tell you guys just some pet peeves of mine and some things that kind of aggravate me as a tarot reader. And if you guys are getting into tarot, or if you are like, I don't know, a veteran tarot reader, I would love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments about things that also are sort of a pet peeve for you. Now, I want this video to be fun, even though I will be like criticizing some things in the tarot community that just like I don't vibe with, but overall I want this to be just a relaxed, chill conversation and hear what you guys have, like your thoughts and such about these sorts of things. So let's go ahead and let's just start rolling into some things that annoy me slightly as a professional tarot reader. Okay, so the first one, and I think this one will be kind of obvious, especially for a lot of seasoned readers out there, is that tarot as a trend is a little frustrating. As in, right now, today, and also this has happened before, this is not like brand new. This happened in the 70s, it happened in the 90s, and it's made a comeback again, but tarot is trendy. And we're seeing tarot everywhere. A lot of people are hopping on the tarot bandwagon. Now, in a way, it's kind of a love-hate relationship here. Like, in a way, I love that so many people are getting into tarot, and, you know, like, I would say that I might have been early on the bandwagon, but I'm pretty sure the reason that I even got into tarot in the first place was because I happened to be there when the trend started to bubble and take off back in, like, 2018, 2019. So, like, yes, there have been tarot readers, like, even when it wasn't trendy. Like, this is not to say that tarot wasn't popular, or at least, you know, very involved in certain communities prior to 2018, 2019, or today. But I myself, I think I was one of the early members to the new bandwagon trend of tarot. And a lot of it is because I was on, like, okay, this is before TikTok, but like the equivalent of Witch Talk, but like WitchTube. I was on WitchTube, I was on TarotTube, and that's how I came across it. But what I really want to talk about is tarot becoming mainstream and why I don't like what has happened to it. I think it's kind of become sort of similar to the way astrology became very mainstream, in that a lot of the ancient wisdom, the occultism, the esotericism, like, of these astrology, tarot, crystals, all of that has sort of gone out the window in favor of cutesy versions of it. You know, we hear stuff about, like, personality astrology or cafe astrology, blog astrology. It has a lot of names, where the astrology has been so watered down that it's just a personality trait thing, and a lot of the nuance has been disregarded. For example, we can look at, like, say, the sign of Aries, and they're known as, like, being aggressive fighters and being so fiery, and they just cause a lot of issues, that kind of thing. They're very young and dumb, and it is not true. That is a type of energy associated with Aries, but I think that if you ignore the fact that Aries is ruled by Mars, and you're ignoring the fact that Aries is technically not a young sign, it's middle-aged, I feel like you lose out on a lot of that nuance and a lot of the deeper meanings of the zodiac, of the planetary, like of the planets and their associations, and of a lot of other things. And I think that the way that astrology has been sort of transformed to be more modern and very, like, again, I just watered down is the best word I have for it. That is what's happened to tarot. I think tarot now, like, the cards' meanings are very, like, one-dimensional and or two-dimensional even, and they've lost a lot of the nuance that they had, and people are not reading cards, like, when you get multiple cards together, they're not reading it as, like, a collective, like a story. It's very much like, this card means destruction, this one means romance. Yay, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really go in those spaces as much, but I definitely see people playing around with tarot and not really adhering to the deeper meanings, not looking at the esotericism, and not really diving into what the tarot really means, and just kind of watering it down. That's my favorite word right now. I think also, like, tarot being a trend has created these like decks that are very, like, kitschy in my mind. like, there's a lot of novelty decks out there, and some novelty decks are very cute, and, like, obviously I don't mind a novelty deck or two, but I feel like tarot has become this, like, commercialized commodity, and people are printing decks like crazy. Mass market decks are more accessible than they've been in a long time, if not ever, which is awesome, except you get so many, like, I don't know, little novelty decks, little cutesy decks that just don't hold the same, like, spiritual meaning as some of the other decks do. And then this is kind of difficult because obviously I own some cutesy little decks. My Cats Rule the World Tarot is a cutesy little deck. My Shadowland Tarot is a cutesy little deck, and I love both of them. But, and I don't really mind it as a whole, except that there's so many. It's been so commercialized. Capitalism's doing its thing, and people are flocking to buy all these decks, and, you know, there's just, I don't know, there's something about it that rubs me the wrong way. And I think it is the just whole commercialization of tarot, but also just that a lot of these newer decks lack the deeper meaning. You don't see, you know, the planetary symbolism. You don't see the astrological symbolism. You just don't see that same symbolism carried out in some of these more novelty-like decks. And the decks I think about specifically are, like, those that are being sold at, like, Hot Topic and Spencer's, like, those stores. For me, it's in my local mall. You know, they're just there on display, but, like, they're just novelty decks. A lot of them are trying to create these horror or scary, like, imagery and stuff, which, again, I love scary, occulty, like, dark and strange decks. I really do, and I'm not trying to crap on artists or their novelty decks, because again, I do like some of them, and I just don't think the popularization of these things is healthy long-term for the tarot community. And I don't think that eradicating all of the esotericism and the occult and the ancient symbolism from these decks is good long-term. And again, a lot of people enter or find out about tarot through a lot of these novelty decks, especially because they're so mainstream, and you can go to, like, gosh, I don't know if Target actually sells them, but I wouldn't be surprised if you can go to your local Target and, like, find a tarot deck. I know Walmart sells them, so, you know, and obviously you can buy them on Amazon for really, really cheap as well. You don't have to go out to spiritual stores, which makes them more accessible, but accessibility also comes with this cost of watering down the message and the true meaning of tarot. And I can't tell you the number of people that are buying decks just for the novelty of buying them, and those who are buying decks that they will never use. So, you know, take that with what you will, but it is a little pet peeve of mine that it's becoming so trendy, but at the same time, it's good. I don't know, it's like a double-edged sword. I also wanted to talk briefly about this trendy tarot sort of occultism and how it's everywhere. I mean, I went to a local haunted house recently, and there were some tarot cards on the table, which I will express in my next point because it was a little funny to see those cards. But again, we also are seeing tarot, like this new horror movie about tarot, which I need to see. I need to watch it. But we're also seeing it depicted in, like, the Sims 4's new pack, which is about life and death. And we're also seeing tarot printed on clothing and home decor. And it's getting a little out of hand, okay? It's becoming about as, like, again, novelty, but as commercialized as astrology has become, and it's losing a lot of its spiritual impact. So this leads me to my next point about tarot, like, things that are just frustrating me right now in tarot, and one of them is that inaccurate depictions in media. Now, this has been a thing for, like, ever. I would be willing to bet that, you know, tarot has been depicted inaccurately a lot in media, even before today. It just so happens that it's continued to be depicted sort of inaccurately. I think back to Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and my memory is so bad, but I watched this back in 2020, I think, and I remember a scene in the show where they were getting tarot readings from this, like, person, and I believe there was, like, it was like a whole thing. And this person was, like, divining their futures and all this. But some of the tarot depictions, in my opinion, were not wholly accurate, or at least while the meaning may have been accurate, it, like, really branched off in, like, what happened in their fortunes, and, like, really kind of became its own little beast, and sort of, I don't know, was very exaggerated. Now, I have watched Hearth Witch on YouTube talk about Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and, she is a practicing witch. I do not consider myself a witch, really, so I don't know a ton of pagan practices. I don't know a ton of, witchy sorts of practices, I guess. I kind of am just a spiritualist, tarot reader, psychic, that kind of thing, but I don't really dive into spell work and such. But I remember watching her video a while back about how she really did admire the work that was put into Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I still don't know if I'm satisfied by its depiction of tarot, especially because I feel like the show was very dark. Obviously intended to be kind of creepy, but I don't know if I view tarot as that dark. Take that with what you will. But I also wanted to talk about, again, this horror movie about tarot. I haven't seen it, so I don't know if it's accurate or not. But again, tarot being depicted as kind of the way that Ouija boards were depicted, kind of the way that a lot of occult stuff is depicted as very horrifying and terrifying. It sort of frustrates me because personally I find a lot of light and a lot of truth and a lot of growth out of my own personal spiritual practice. And of course, everything can be twisted. Everything can be made evil. Everything can be made good. I mean, it kind of depends on what you want to do with it. But I sort of am saddened to see spiritual practices, even meditation, being depicted as evil or corrupt or just creepy, because it kind of turns people away from it. So I don't know. That's my own opinion. But we see a lot of inaccurate depictions of tarot in media. It's going to happen. It always happens to a lot of different occult things. I'm sure it happens to non-occult things like the Christian religion. I'm sure there's a lot of inaccurate stuff that is put out there about that as well. And it's just media, and at the end of the day, it's just storytelling. It's fun. And as a writer, I get that. I totally understand turning something that maybe is not really that scary into something that's a little bit more scary, or taking a scary concept and turning it into something that's a little less so, just for the sake of storytelling. I understand that, and again, it's just media, but it does sort of rub me the wrong way sometimes when it's depicted inaccurately. And more hilariously, like I said, I went to a haunted house very recently and saw a tarot spread, and of course they put the death card down there, but when I was looking at the spread and I was, interpreting the cards at this haunted house, I was like, wow, so it looks like somebody was trying to go for some passion, some project that they were really interested in, but it ended kind of poorly. And instead of acknowledging that a new door of opportunity has been opened to them because of this failure or this setback, instead of acknowledging that something good has come out of the ashes of their failed endeavor, this person is just grieving over it, and it looks like they need a new perspective on how to move forward. That was more or less how I would have interpreted that in particular spread, which was kind of funny because it was in a haunted house. And I'm sure they just picked the cards because they wanted to. I don't know. Okay, so branching away from tarot as a trend or media, I want to talk a little bit about things that I see as a tarot reader when I give readings to others that kind of make me go, One of the first ones is when people expect me to divine their future. A lot of people have the assumption that tarot is a tool to divine the future. In the tarot community, there are a lot of different opinions on this. It's considered a divination tool, so therefore, by definition, it can divine the future, perhaps. I personally don't view that with the tarot. I think it can share with you the possible paths that you can take to move forward. It can share possible outcomes, but because I firmly believe in free will, and I think the tarot, based on my own understanding of it, based on my work with it, the tarot seems to also show this story of free will and choice. You make the choice. You make the choice on how you respond to things, for the most part. And your free will dictates what happens to you. And so when I do readings, people want a definitive future or outcome. And I often tell people, look, you have free will. If you do option A, this outcome might come about. If you do option B, this outcome might happen. Or if you do option C, this outcome might happen to you. And so based on your choices and what you do, those are likely scenarios. But I don't really think that I don't think the future is set in stone. And therefore, because I don't believe that, I don't particularly believe that the tarot can divine that. So I don't really like when people assume or just get frustrated because I refuse to give a definitive answer on what your future is going to be like, because my belief is that you have free will and your choices will change the outcome. But that's just a little pet peeve, and I understand why a lot of people have that opinion. And again, there are tarot readers out there who genuinely believe that tarot can be definitive and tell you your future. I'm just not one of those people. And I would love to hear your guys' thoughts to see what you think. Again, it's considered a divination tool, so chances are it can divine the future, at least for some. I don't particularly believe it, but to each their own. Another thing I wanted to talk about too with doing professional tarot readings to other people is shadow work. And one thing I have recognized with tarot becoming so popular and with it becoming sort of a cutesy, fun little thing to do, people are always startled and surprised when I mention like things that are hurting you or like internal blockages, and I suggest shadow work, or, you know, at least the concept of it, like journaling, meditation, doing some inner work to heal your inner wounds, whether that be, you know, childhood wounds, fears, doubts, whatever it may be. And sometimes it can make a tarot reading depressing. I understand. And I try when I do parties and such to make it a bit more lighthearted and fun. But I think the true power of tarot is discovering your inner blockages and doing that inner work to grow as a person, to grow in mindset and in spirituality, and to help you through the dark times. And I think it's a little frustrating sometimes when people don't want to do the inner work and they come for a reading, and whether they expect it to be fun or not, some people just want to know a little bit about their life, and I will, you know, pull the cards and tell them what it says. But it does sort of, I don't want to say it frustrates me exactly. I guess it makes me a little bit sad that people are not interested in doing the inner work. They want things to be resolved easily and without any effort on their part, and that's just not what the tarot does. It's not what it encourages. And again, tarot to me, and I think I've said this before, is somewhat like a therapist. Not quite the same. It does not replace therapy, but it is very similar in that it will have you look at yourself and work on your own inner turmoils in order to become a better person. Okay, and the last thing that I want to talk about is going to be kind of controversial. You guys know me and my controversial hot takes, but this is one of them. Online mass readings or general readings are a little pet peeve of mine. I don't particularly like them. I know. A lot of people love these, and a friend of mine that the two of us, like, we always get decks together, we talk about stuff, we do readings for each other, like, that's our thing. She loves online readings, she loves mass readings, but I personally don't. I do watch them sometimes for funsies. I do enjoy seeing how other tarot readers interpret things, but I don't find these mass readings as potent and transformative as a personal reading. Even if I wasn't a tarot reader, I feel like I would find more value in going to a tarot reader or doing an online reading with another tarot reader, like one-on-one about my specific situation, than I would a mass reading. But I do understand that these mass general readings are more accessible for a lot of people. Tarot readers are kind of expensive, and these are free relatively to watch. I mean, you have to watch ads maybe, but I mean, aside from that, it's free. And a lot of people find them enjoyable. And there is this whole, like, claim what resonates and leave what doesn't. And I think that the way these mass readings are often done, it's pretty easy to claim, like, anything regarding your situation. I don't know. They could say something very, very generic, like a relationship in your life is on thin ice and you're wondering how to handle that relationship. Our advice is to go talk to them. Okay, well, pick anybody in your life. You probably have at least somebody in your life that you're not getting along with super well, even if it's just some, like, small misunderstanding. And going to communicate with them is, like, the most obvious, like, solution. Now, have I participated in mass readings? Yes. Have I done them before? Yeah, I tried it out. I don't really know if I like it. It makes me a little uncomfortable sometimes. But it's a thing. And people enjoy it, and that's fine. And, again, if you abide by that, claim what resonates, leave what doesn't, fine, whatever works for you. I personally don't like it. Again, controversial hot take here, but that is a trend that I'm not really down for, and I don't really like general mass readings. Again, would love to hear your guys' comments on it, and especially if you enjoy them, explain to me like why and what value you find out of it, and I would just love to hear your perspective. Personally, I'm not a fan, and I don't find general readings very meaningful, and I don't find them to be helpful in most situations. That's just my personal experience. Again, to each our own, right? So it is what it is, but I figured I would add that in this video just for a little bit of spice and also to just kind of share another thing about tarot that sort of, I don't know, rubs me the wrong way as a professional tarot reader. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please, again, leave your comments below if you have any opinions on any of the things that were discussed. And until next time, I will catch you later.